Hi, I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, and here's my review. The movie takes place right after Mysterio revealed that Tony Parker is Spider-Man. Peter Parker is in a very bad place at this moment, and that's why he goes to Doctor Strange for help to eventually find a way to erase people's memory of who Spider-Man is. Unfortunately, the spell doesn't quite work the way it was intended to, and it ends up creating a bigger of a mess in the universe as it opens the gates, the doors of different universes, with villains from different universes all coming to Tom Holland's universe to wreak havoc. Okay, so before going into the movie in itself, a bit of background. So Spider-Man is kind of my favorite superhero. You know, a bit from back then when there weren't so many superheroes on TV. And even as a kid, I would mostly watch cartoons of Spider-Man or X-Men for superheroes, but that's it. So yeah, Spider-Man has really been a thing for me. And well, I absolutely love the first trilogy. It's still my favorite today. I love the three movies, even the third one. I know it's not the case for everyone, but for me it is. I still like it. So, second, Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield at first. Since I'm such a lover of the first trilogy, it was a bit difficult to accept, so it was also a bit difficult to be open about it. But I still gave them a chance, and although I think I still prefer Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I still like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Then Tom Holland came, and from the first trailer I was a bit worried because it seemed like it was very, very different from the two previous installations that were here. And indeed it is. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU is more light, is more, maybe, I wouldn't say childish, but more for a teen audience maybe, and I don't really grab to this because I think I'm too old. So sometimes a lot of the humor, I miss it completely, I don't find it funny. So the first movie I had really a bit of trouble, but the second trailer gave me more hope for the second movie, and I went to watch it. I was like, okay, it's not bad, it's okay, I like it. But when the third movie started to get rumors, the very early stage rumors, I was excited. So I've been waiting for this third movie for so long, so many months, like a lot of people who saw the rumors. Honestly, at some point there were just too many coincidences, too many things that added up, and it was impossible that it was not going to happen. I think, however, that when we first had the rumor, I think probably most people didn't believe it in the first place, because it feels kind of impossible. It's the kind of thing you can't really imagine happening. Honestly, I don't necessarily like everything Marvel does. Also with these movies, there are things I don't like. But I have to say that I think what they did with this movie, being able to bring so many actors back who were willing to do it, because they could very well say, no, thank you, I'm done, you know. But I mean, it's incredible what they did, and just for that, I think, okay, they deserve a praise for this, because, yeah, most probably from their side, it's a way just to make money, you know, cashing from people who loved the other two Spider-Mans. Hopefully they have a bit of, you know, we want to make people happy, but with such huge corporations, it's a bit not what you would think, but one can believe. So like I said, there are some things I didn't like in this movie, but also things I liked. My first reaction when I came out of the cinema was feeling very empty, because I had been waiting for this movie for so long, so it felt like my purpose, my goal was gone and I had nothing left. And also because I was feeling a tiny bit disappointed with how some things happened in the movie. But I'm going to explain a bit more why. First, the good things, I think I'm going to start with that. Well, the obvious one, the three Spider-Mans. I think, like I said, at this point it was completely clear that they were going to be here. I think just imagine the catastrophe. Everyone believes the 3 Spider-Mans are going to be here, but they actually aren't, and Marvel is like not making an announcement about it, a real announcement. Because, you know, they kept quiet until the very end. But just imagine if they were not actually in the movie. The catastrophe this movie would have been, I think. So that's why I think it was just completely certain, there was no doubt, because honestly it would have just been financially completely a catastrophe for Marvel to do this. But yeah, even though it was sure they were in there, it was still so nice to see them. I didn't cry, but I felt kind of my eyes feeling a bit wet a lot of times because I was so touched, and I still actually can't really believe I saw that. I feel it's kind of like not a dream, but something like this. It's a thing you never thought would arrive one day. And when it does, it's difficult to process it. The second thing I also really liked in this movie is how Tom Holland's Spider-Man, aka Spider-Man 1, in this movie kind of really goes down very deep at some point, and it's really something that was lacking for this Spider-Man. I mean, Andrew Garfield suffered a lot. I think Tobey Maguire suffered even more in his movies. But Tom Holland, nothing so far. So it was actually a nice thing to see him going down, and made the thing a lot more darker and a lot more serious. And actually, I'm going to tie this with a thing that I don't really like, but it's not on Spider-Man's, Tom Holland's fault. It's more on the MCU in general, or the movies actually. I realized that there's actually way too much humor in these movies. There's something, I don't know if it's just the humor or something else making it this way, that actually diminishes the superhero side. We don't really see them as heroic anymore. I don't know if this makes sense, and I kept thinking about it, and I don't think it's a problem to do with seeing the human side a lot more, because, I mean, the first Spider-Man, we saw him go through dirt all the time, being a human all the time, but it still felt super hero-y, you know? Every time he had to become Spider-Man, he became this superhero, still vulnerable, but very epic, and yeah, it made you feel something. And I think it's something that's very lacking in the MCU these days. The thing I really liked is how it doesn't go back to his friend. At first, in the cinema, I thought he was saying that to MJ, like, yeah, I'm going to come back, but he had kind of already set up his mind that he was not going to do it. Actually, no, he was really going to go back to them. But I like that it doesn't. He feels like a real Spider-Man because he has to struggle, he has to give up so many things. He's kind of the only one in this situation, but I like it. I don't know why. I like my Spider-Man to be someone who suffers for some reason. So yeah, I like that he just walked back and was like, no, you know, I'm not going to put them through this anymore. They have their life. It's perfect this way for them. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. So I think that's when he actually really understood it fully. Although I do think they will probably make them come back, since I think it's been announced that there's going to be a trilogy. So I think they might still bring them back. But I liked it like this. And I can also tie this other point that I wrote down, that the throwback to really the real Spider-Man when, well, obviously he moves out, he has nothing left here, so he goes into this tiny shabby apartment and just stays here and makes himself a costume and goes out do his Spider-Man thing. I felt like I was going to cry at this moment, and just thinking about it makes me emotional right now. Yeah, I think you can tell what Spider-Man really I prefer, just because of what I just said. But yeah, it actually makes me excited to see what the trilogy is going to have to offer. And I hope it will be good and darker. Yeah, I hope. This gives me hope, but I don't want to have too much of it. Then, of course, I can't go on without talking about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man saving MJ. From the moment I saw it in the trailer, I thought about it, and I know it's the case for a lot of people. Some people were against, some people were completely for, and I was on the side of people who were completely for it, because I just found it would maybe help Andrew Garfield kind of heal from the wound of Stacy, you know? So when it did really happen, I almost started crying with him, because I just felt so emotional for him. It just was the thing he couldn't have done, and at least he was able to do it for, like, he calls them a brother, you know? So, I really like that. Similar, the hug at the end. I didn't know I needed a hug of these three people so badly. It was just so touching. Like, it must be crazy, you know, to just suddenly meet other people from other universes, and they are all you, and they all have kind of similar experiences. Yeah. And talking about different experiences, it's actually nice that they talked about the fact that Tobey's Spider-Man have real web coming from his wrist. Of course, they kind of turned it into a joke and everything, but it's nice that they addressed it without trying to kind of fix things and kind of make more sense of it. It's just like, oh no, for me it's just this way. And I really like that. Okay, I'm almost done with all the things I want to kind of fangirl about is the meme. I think we kind of were a bit mitigated about it. Some people thought it was the perfect moment to put this, legendary meme. I'm not such a huge fan of memes on everything, but even I know this one. So, kind of legendary meme, and some thought that it would maybe be a bit too much and out of place to put it in a movie. But in the end, they actually do it, and they do it in a more subtle way. So it's actually better done, because when it happened, I was like, okay, they did it, but not necessarily in the way you thought they were going to do it. So I really liked it, and I think everyone did anyway. So I don't know why I keep saying I liked it. I liked it because I'm sure everyone liked everything I said I liked. And another thing, but I'm actually not quite sure about this one, is I think they used a soundtrack from the first Spider-Man trilogy. I'm not completely sure, but I know I thought about it before the movie. I suddenly thought, what if they use a soundtrack? Or two soundtracks, one for the first, one for the second Spider-Man. What if they do that? And I'm really not sure about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man OST, because I haven't seen enough, I would say, to completely memorize the OST. But I think they did use some soundtrack from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, especially at the end, a soft one. I don't think I noticed it before in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So maybe I'm completely wrong on this, because I'm really no expert. Even though I really like Spider-Man, I don't have extensive knowledge and everything about it. So I could be wrong. But when I heard it, it really grabbed my attention. It was like I was back into the first movie, and it felt really nice. And last thing I want to mention in the things I liked is the first post-credit scene with Venom. At first I had a bit of a trouble realizing who it was, because I haven't really kept up with Venom and everything. No, the only Venom I really know is the Venom from the first Spider-Man. So, but I was like, man, I'm sure I know this guy. And I was like, I know his face, I know I saw it somewhere. And I was like, and this voice talking to him, I thought it really sounds familiar. It really looks and sounds familiar. And of course, when the tiny gooey black stuff fell on the table, then I realized who it was. And so I guess for everyone who really likes Venom, because the thing is, I like Venom, I like this villain because I find him so cool in a sense. You know, he's black and white and with this huge tongue and these teeth. I don't know, I just find him really cool. But I never went out of my way to watch the movies outside of the only Venom I know from the first Spider-Man. But you could say I like him. So I'm actually a bit excited because I think it might say that Venom is going to enter this universe. So, well, that's what I suppose since it didn't go back. So I suppose that's going to be in the next trilogy. I wonder what it's going to look like. Like I said a bit earlier, I don't want to have too much hope for what's going to come next. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to it anyway. Okay, now I'm going to mention the 3 last things that I didn't really like, or after some thought kind of found it okay, but not my favorite way of doing things, really. So first, I don't really see the point of Tobey's Spider-Man to be stabbed at the end. I have to admit, even now when I think about it, I don't really see a point. I think, I don't know, the Goblin could have just been, you know, knocked out. I'm going to be honest, I really don't see the point of why he had to be stabbed. First thought was like, no. I was like, don't tell me they're going to make him die. I was like, but it wouldn't make sense, he has to go back in his universe. But then I was like, but if Tobey Maguire really doesn't want to have any chance to come back for some reason, then it's a good thing to kill him. But he doesn't. And he's not that hurt either after, so when I think about it, I still don't understand why it happened this way. So, if you know, or if you have an idea, you can tell me, because I don't. Maybe I'm missing something, because my memory is a bit all over the place, but I'm going to watch it a second time later on, so I'm gonna refresh everything. So maybe I'm forgetting something that made it important for him to be stabbed, but so far, nothing. Second time, I think for such a movie, I think it should actually be more than just one movie. Unfortunately, even though this movie is very long, it's not long enough. I think there are too many people, way too many people. He has to deal with his friend, his girlfriend, his auntie, with Happy, with all the bad guys. I can't... How many are there? 5? Five bad guys, plus the 2 other Spider-Man, and we have Doctor Strange too in the picture. It's a bit too much for like a 2 hours and something movie. I don't know, maybe it would have given a better result as a mini-series, or maybe just even as kind of 2 movies, or really a trilogy of itself. Like, I know it finishes a trilogy, but I don't think everything, maybe they should have split a bit on the 3 movies. But yeah, I think you see what I mean. It's that there was not enough time, a lot of things felt very rushed, and some things kind of too slow. For example, the thing I think I'm the most, I'm going to say disappointed, but again, I have to see with a second watch. I think the thing I'm the most disappointed about is how the fight with the 3 Spider-Mans at the end just don't feel long enough and not epic enough. Of course, there's this epic scene when they start running and they all fly together and they all land in front of the camera together. This is really epic. But overall, that's a bit it. First, because they don't have enough time to kind of make more, I suppose. But I think it was a bit of a bummer, because I wanted to see some epic thing with the 3 of them. And I feel like it didn't really meet my expectations. At the same time, you know, I don't want to be too critical, because I keep thinking, yeah, but they did that, they brought the 3 Spider-Mans together. So a part of me kind of feels bad for thinking this way. But actually, I had this problem with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 2. Every time I watched his 2 movies, I think there's also no real epic moments. Or the epic moments kind of like are tiny. Epic moment where you're like, wow, you're in awe, and you're like, wow, it's so cool, and wow, this is awesome, and you get goosebumps. I think there's not enough in this movie. I kind of wanted to see more fighting of the 3 Spider-Men. If I have to take an example, a bit maybe like, when all the Avengers are on Thanos. At this moment, I mean, the guy, he has one guy in one arm, another guy, he has like 5 people on top of him. I don't know, I was kind of maybe expecting more scenes of this kind in this movie. So yeah, a bit underwhelmed, if I could say that. And like I said, not enough time, so maybe they split 2, they had no time to put more, of course. Alright, and I think I kept the last one, which was my biggest disappointment last night when I saw the movie, but kind of processed it a lot since then and kind of think it's okay. But on some circumstances, but not necessarily on others, and I'm going to explain why. It's how the 2 Spider-Mans appear. Okay, hear me out. So for people like me and maybe you who were really about the rumors and kind of looking around at what was coming out and watching videos about it and everything, you kind of knew they were going to be in. It was no surprise. Maybe there was this tiny 1%, like I said, but no, I mean, realistically, everyone knew they were in there. So for some reason, I was awaiting some kind of grand and epic entrance for the 2 of them. I don't know how. I don't actually have a scene in mind, but I just kind of see them flying and arriving in front of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like kind of in the night, and it would make such an epic scene, an epic entrance, like I said. So when it happens this way with the portals in the movie, I was a bit, that's it. I was quite disappointed right here. I was like, okay, they just appear like this. Okay, that's very anticlimactic. Oh, it's not what I expected. But then, since I didn't like this part, I kept thinking and thinking and thinking back about it. And honestly, if you had no idea there might have been these 2 Spider-Man in the movies, if you go to the movie thinking it's just a Tom Holland movie like usual, what a surprise! I mean, just imagine if you didn't know they were going to be in this movie and you see this first Spider-Man coming from the portal and you're like, that's weird, that's not him, and then he pulls off his mask and it's Andrew Garfield. Just imagine. I can't even process this. I just feel so excited. I kind of want to go back in time and completely erase my memory of everything I knew to kind of see it this way. And then the other person, you don't see Tobey Maguire, you don't see his face, and then it just comes out inside. Just imagine. Like, I saw some people kind of scream and cried, and I'm glad it didn't happen in my theater, because I wouldn't have liked that. No, let me watch the movie. Shush. So I'm glad it didn't happen, but just imagine, like, people knew, yet they react this way. So just imagine if really there had been no rumor from the beginning, nothing had leaked, nothing, no one knew it was the biggest secret ever. Just thinking about it. So, like I said, in these circumstances, I think such an entrance for the 2 Spidey is actually pretty good. It's just something you wouldn't expect at all. But on the other hand, for people who already knew there was going to be in there, that there was no chance they weren't, maybe it's just me, but it feels a bit underwhelming. But you can see it both ways, and I actually kind of came to terms with it. I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot more on my second watch, actually. Sometimes I have just expectations for movies, or I have expectations that I don't really know are here but are still, or sometimes I just have these high expectations and it's really difficult to meet, of course. I'm going to take an example. It's old recently that I watched. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I thought I had no expectations going in the first time, but I think I did anyway. So when I came out, I was like, yeah, I liked it, but I don't know, it feels not right. But I actually went and saw it a second time, and I actually enjoyed it so much more the second time because I had no expectations. I knew everything, how it was going to happen, why. I knew everything. So when I saw it the second time, I was like, okay, I like this movie a lot. So actually it might do this with this Spider-Man. Under, you know, the moment and the adrenaline and the excitement, you kind of want to go like, it's the best movie ever and everything. But I think it still has kind of a lot of flaws, and of course it's not for sure, but I think they kind of relied too much on the people in the movie rather than on the content. Like, yeah, it's great. You made all these actors came back, all these characters come back, and it's amazing. But I think they kind of, like I said, relied on this too much and didn't go to the bottom of things and really fleshed out everything. So it's a bit of a shame because it feels like the plot is a bit, you know, you're like, okay. But at the same time, you can't help but think it could be maybe a lot better if it had been done better. Yeah, I was not transcended by this movie like I thought I was gonna be, but overall I still enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to watch it a second time. I think I'm going to enjoy myself a lot more this second time around. I already can't wait. Hey, this is me after my second watch of the Spider-Man movie, and I felt like I wanted to add a few little things, and I decided to just make an audio to make it quicker, because if I film, I might take too much time. First, I can say that I liked the movie a lot more on the second watch. I think it's mostly due to expectations you can have for the first movie, but watching it again, I was able to appreciate it a lot more. Although I still think there should have been maybe a few more badass moments between the three Spider-Mans when they were fighting. Rewatching it, I actually realized that Tom Holland's trilogy is actually kind of his origin, because he kind of ends up in the same place the other two ended up in their first movie. Talking about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I need to ask something for people who've seen it in English. Since I'm French, I watched it in French, in the French cinemas. And at some point, the three of them kind of compare what they did. And Andrew Garfield goes like, oh yeah, compared to me, you guys are so great. I did nothing. It's child play compared to you. And Tobey goes on as being like, no, you're incredible. Come on, repeat it. And I didn't think about it the first time, but I thought, man, is Tobey actually saying, no, you're amazing? Because Andrew Garfield's the amazing Spider-Man, right? So I want to ask you guys who watched it in English if it does say amazing. And if it does, wow, I just love it so much. Because I feel like Andrew Garfield's version took so much hate compared to the other ones. So I would like it even much more. Also, I have another thing that I realized, and I'm not sure I understand, so maybe if someone does or has an idea, or if it's just maybe a plot hole, I don't really understand now Tobey Maguire's plotline, because from what we understand, they all came before they died. Well, it's implied, because the few villains they ask all arrived before they died. So I have to guess that it was the same thing for the Green Goblin, right? So does that mean when Tobey Maguire is going to go back in his world, then Harry will be back somehow? Because Harry became the Green Goblin because his dad died and he thought it was Spider-Man who did it. So that's how it turned bad. But if the Green Goblin doesn't die, then... So I was a bit confused about that. But yeah, so if anyone can tell me, maybe I missed something, or maybe it's just... because it's not really mentioned, so I don't know. But yeah, so overall, I just wanted to say that I actually liked it a lot more on the second watch, and I'm still so happy this movie happened. It's really kind of a one-time thing, you know, that a thing you're only going to see like once in your life, and it's so exciting. Also, I know it's not the case for everyone because I already saw some people fighting again about it, but I really hope that now that the 3 Spider-Mans are officially canon, I hope that now some people will get to appreciate everyone a bit more, because before it was always fighting between no, this one is the best, no, this one doesn't look like the comics, but anyway, Tom Holland of the MCU is the real one. But now it's the 3 of them are the real ones, and they are different in their each ways because they are from different universes. So you can still have your preference. You can still prefer Tom Holland's Spider-Man. You can still prefer Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. For my part, I think my favorite is still Tobey Maguire's version, but I always liked the other ones. So I hope now maybe it could create a bit less hate towards some versions of Spider-Man, so it can be a bit more united. That's it for me. I don't think I have anything else to say I can add or anything, so yeah, bye bye!